Jay, this has got the 5 factors, not the short environmental assessment form. We could.
What's that?
I'm supposed to take them.
Just a little bit after 7, we'll start the meeting as soon as Jay comes back. Anybody online? Great, thank you very much. Okay, let's call the meeting in order. It's 7:03, I believe. Everybody's got a copy of the agenda, I'm sure. Let's start with the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have any comments from anyone on the board about the minutes? I just have one, which is very, well, actually a couple. Jay, I'll give you one later, but which is just a language thing. But on page 8 of 9, you'll see near the bottom, it says the pool is a saltwater pool, which was one of the things the DEC saw as favorable. Speaking with, and then the sentence kind of ends. So I'm not sure what that was referring to. Maybe we just take it out, unless anybody remembers specifically the.
This is 3 from the bottom.
Yeah, 3rd point from the bottom.
Has that ever been a saltwater pool?
No, it's a
No,
new
they don't.
one. It's a new.
Yeah, it's a new one. It's a new one.
No one, okay.
Yep. This is off Under Mountain Road. In fact, it's what we're having the public hearing on tonight.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments?
I have one on 9 of 9. It says William Lutz motion to declare the Ancrum Zoning Board of Appeal lead agency for the proposed for purpose of environmental review. The motion was seconded by William Lutz as well. So it has to be,
Yeah.
it has to be Sharon. So
Okay, so let's change that to.
and just the beginning part,
Good catch, Will. Thank you.
You talked about CAC a little bit, and I thought our conversation was a little bit different than that. I mean, we talked about grade changing, and I said, no, really, the grade didn't change. So there was a lot in here. We did get to it. It did get to it further down. So I guess it's okay. It just seemed like it wasn't part of our initial conversation. So.
I know I mentioned cash. I know I said it was degraded. And then you had said, no, it wasn't degraded.
Not degraded, or the grade didn't change.
Right.
And the other portion we said that we talked about the how it would change the wetland area, and there wasn't a wetland area behind it. It was only grass at that.
Yes.
Right. So those were the 2 things that we basically talked about. The other thing was what on page 4 of 9, when we go through the 5-factor test, there's questions that are asked. Why? Do we have to answer that in the future then, so that doesn't come up like that?
Jay and I actually had a discussion about this earlier today, and because we'll be going through it tonight, potentially going through it tonight. If there are any specific comments that we can make that would augment the detail outside of just the yay, nay vote, it's always advantageous to have something there. I don't want to force the issue. If we look at,
I think we should, that's our job. If we're going to say something, I think our job is to say why we say yes or no. So
right,
even if it's one sentence, and even if it was covered in the discussion, I think if that's what we're thinking at that time, that's what goes.
Sure,
there.
the reason that brought us to that.
okay. Right, so I'd like to get a motion from someone on the board that we accept the minutes with,
I make the motion,
What-
to accept the
what-
minutes with the changes.
okay,
Second it.
so moved. Okay, Ron,
Yes,
I,
yeah,
I,
all right, correspondence. There are a couple of things for you all here. I think everybody's got a copy of the 2024 Ancrum fee schedule in somewhere in your packet. No, they don't. All right.
No.
Then what we'll do is Jay will be emailing out to everybody on the board a copy of the recommended 2024 Town of Ancrum fee schedule.
Were they, what was at the town board meeting last month? You know,
It did come up at the town board meeting.
It's on the agenda, it was not voted on because
but it's that same list that was there? Okay, I have that.
it needed, I was told that it needed a sign off from Steve and Joe.
Okay, thank you.
So here's what we're going to do. When Jay sends out a copy of this to everybody, whatever that date is, I'm going to ask you if you would return back to me in writing an email within 7 days, just saying I agree with everything on here, or if you have any recommended changes, let me know what those are, and we can have a discussion about them. But I just like to have some written feedback from everybody on the board that you do or don't agree. There are some things on here when you go through it, you may look at and go, we're charging $500 for that? So I would ask that you be diligent and thorough as you go through it and test it for reasonableness and fairness. And to the extent you have any point of view on whether or not that fee does in fact cover most expected costs. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's see. Everybody has a copy of, maybe you don't.
I do.
Okay, well, I'll share these with people. So this is just a copy of the highway construction standards and land subdivision regulations, which were broken out. Those haven't changed for the most part since 2017. But it's actually a pretty interesting reference document. I know I went through the highway department one, and
Is it home?
No,
everything in there from the size and scope of driveways to how sharp a turn can be, to where signs can be, and
I have to hit him up for this then, huh?
it's pretty interesting stuff.
well, Walter, you know, my phone, I just don't follow.
Yeah, I learned something I didn't know before, which was when that there's actually a specific regulation about when you move from one speed zone to another, there has to be a warning within a very specific distance of the change of the speed, which I thought was, sometimes you see it and sometimes you go, well, I just went from 55 to 35,
Yeah,
any change in speed.
All right.
Yeah, it requires a warning sign, prior to the,
Seen it for a slow.
I saw
slow
one
down.
of those signs the
Yeah.
other day.
We're getting a few more of those now.
Go 55 now.
yep. There's a couple of other things, but I'll cover, some points around the Columbia County Planning Board, when we get further down in the agenda. So, we're gonna move into the, public hearing portion, but before we do that, does anybody have any reasons to recuse themselves due to any conflicts tonight? No,
No.
no, Ron, no? Okay, good.
What is this gonna be on now?
This public hearing for, Zachlar, which is we started the discussion on it. It's in the minutes last week, Ron. I know you were last meeting. I know you weren't there. So if you go to page, this is up for the, if you go to the minutes on page, where is it? Page 8. That's the discussion that we had around the application. It's an area variance application for a pool under Mountain Road. I'd like to get a motion that we open the public hearing portion of the meeting for Zachlar. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so you second it this time, not Paul. Good, gotcha. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there anybody representing? Great. I'm doing well. Fear. Do you have the floor if you have any comments that you'd like to make? And
Yeah, I mean, I think I hopefully covered it in the last meeting. We're looking for area variance to build the pool in our backyard. It's a fairly modest sized pool, 15 by 31 feet. It's a saltwater pool. It does intrude in slightly into the DEC's wetland buffer zone. And because the town's buffer zone is further than the DEC's wetland buffer zone, it obviously intrudes further into that. DEC has issued their permit. They did study the plans at length. They sent their biologists out. They sent their specialists out. They looked at the materials that were being used, the equipment that was being used. They looked at the site and the various construction methods that would be used and issued their permit with only 2 conditions, the conditions being buffer, a silt buffer when we're actually building, doing the construction to prevent any soil runoff. And then on the fence, once the pool is constructed, fine wire mesh at the very base of that fence to prevent any wildlife from entering the pool area. If you, I think there are some photos in the application that we submitted just to sort of orient where the site is. This is just lawn. It's the back, we sort of have our house, it's a deck, and then the lawn right there, and then the wetland is off and down the hill from there. So we're just looking to put the pool in the lawn area. It won't have any actual impact on the wetland itself, but obviously does.
and that's not viewable from the road, as I recall, right? Or not, or just
in
barely.
the winter, when all the tree leaves are down, you might be able to see a glimpse.
People skating on it.
About
Yeah.
a second, but no, it's not visible.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this application? Anybody online? Okay, any other questions from any members of the board?
But it doesn't relate to this.
Okay,
And Will was there today. There was.
No, I was there
Oh,
10 days
10
ago.
days ago, I apologize.
10 days
Yeah.
ago approximately.
Will said that he saw a black cat. And somebody in Boston Corner says lost the black cat. Is that cat still hanging around?
There is not hanging around, though I saw the picture that came out that you sent
You
to
did,
the,
okay.
and I don't believe it's the same cat. We see it on our cameras sometimes, but it,
He's moving very quick. I can tell you
he
that.
knows what he's doing. He's hunting for something.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it looked like a cat, and it just so happened that there was a cat missing in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh.
And when I was looking around, I never got out of my vehicle, but you flew by and went under like your deck or something there.
This conversation just summarizes the experience of living in Anchorage. Whether it's sheep that have gotten lost or cats or.
Fair.
Trying to
Okay.
cover all the bases here at one time.
Okay, I'll ask one last time. Any other comments from the public or any members of the board? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Okay, now what we usually do at this point is, we'll go through the documents that we have always used in the past, if I can find them, and we will go through the 5 factors, number one, and then what we've typically done in the past is we've gone through the short environmental assessment form, filled that out, which has 10 questions. However, there's going to be a little nuance and change in the process here. And what that change in the process is actually going back to doing something that we being the planning board and the zoning board should probably have been doing all along, and somehow have gotten off track from doing it. I've never done this. So it happened before I became part of the board, but as you'll see in notes that Jason, the secret classified action of a type 1 or a type 2 list. And one of the things that we're going to determine first is whether or not there's a type 1 or a type 2 action. If it's type 1, it is a bit more onerous than going through the short environmental form. If it's type 2, we'll simply do what we've always done and go through that form. You've got in your documents a type 1 action and types of type 1 actions, as well as a third document, which is around type 2 actions. I think the easiest way to do this, and Jay, if you have a different point of view, by all means, let me know, is to take the local type 1 action, this document says, and just read through it. And if you think that this application that fits on this list of type 1 actions, then we'll discuss it. If you go through this list and say, gee, none of these are, I mean, what they're trying to do with the pool it really is not a type 1 action, then we will define it as type 2, and we'll go through the short environmental assessment form as we always have. Jade?
Can I make one statement?
Yes.
I believe residential pool is specifically enumerated on type 2 list, so I don't know if that. It's one of the 53 items that's listed on the
Okay. That certainly would make it easier, but regardless, I still would like to go through and just make sure if there is no issue with it being on the type 1 list, but thank you for that input. I've already gone through it, so I've already got,
I mean,
I've got a point of view.
It's much more sophisticated than that. I mean, than what we're doing. I mean,
It's just,
there's some pretty major stuff on type 1 compared to what's going on here.
and I think we only need to look at residential uses and residential. Especially.
Right. Very good point. Good point.
Good catch. That's exactly where I went, but I didn't want to taint the jury. Ron and Sharon, what do you think? Do you see anything on there that would make this a type 1 review?
No, I agree with Carol. And you.
Okay. Jay, do we need to actually make a motion on that and formalize it, or is that not necessary for the documentation?
That would be something.
Can I get a motion from someone on the board stating that this is a type 2 action?
I'll make the motion that this is a type 2 action.
Don't think we can do
Yeah.
it. I think we can say that it's not a type 1. If it's not a type 1, it could be
It's-
unlisted for a type 2. Am I right, Jay? No, I'm wrong.
If you don't mind, if you want, I'll say something.
Please feel free.
So I did a lot of work for the town. My name is Mitchell Cosgrove. I'm an attorney. My office is in Chatham. I actually worked at the DEC also. So if it is a listed type 2 action, you don't even need a secret form. You guys just declare it's listed as type 2 and you move on. Because it automatically is deemed no significant impact.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm saying that we don't have a type 2 list. We can say that it's not a type 1 action because it's not on this list.
Well, we do have.
New
we
York
still
State
have-
regulations, if you want, you can look at right here,
Yeah,
does have a
It's
list.
not, okay, is it, okay.
There is a list.
There is a list,
Yeah.
okay. All I'm saying is almost, we don't know that it's a type 2 action.
Well,
But if
You
you,
do know.
now.
That's what I'm
something
saying,
else.
right.
It is, okay, and we could do that. However, Jay, I'd like the list,
Turn to the third staple page,
third staple page.
or 7 pages. So I believe it's New York State type 1 list, and from local type 1 list, and then the type 2 list under 6, 7.
But, we don't have to take up everybody's time with finding that list, because I don't have it. I don't see it on what you do.
It looks like this, Karen.
Okay, I have that. That was given out today. I forgot.
Yep.
It's labeled.
All right, well, we've just been through the process of identifying it as a type 2 action. So what we'll do next is we are gonna go through the short.
Are we gonna go with Bill's motion and I'll second it?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I didn't complete the vote. Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so moved. All right, and because we're the lead agency on here, we are gonna go through this as part of our process. I'll read these off and you'll respond either no or small impact or moderate to large impact may occur. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zone regulation? No or moderate, no or small or moderate or large.
Say that one more time.
Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use or zoning regulation?
No.
I agree. Unless anybody objects, we're going to go through fairly. Proposed result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land. Small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will a proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? I guess that depends on the size of the pool parties, right? Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? Small impact. Anybody disagree? Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or waste treatment facilities? No and no. Will a proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will a proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources like wetlands, groundwater?
Little or none.
Any great small? Will a proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Will a proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? So as a lead agency, we're going to answer this question. There's two boxes we can check. Check this box if you have determined, based on the information and analysis above and any supporting documentation, that the proposed action may result in one or more potentially large or significant adverse impacts. And the second one is, based upon the same information, the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse impacts.
Second one would not.
Would not agree. Let me just fill this out. Jay, I will give this document to you after the meeting is all filled out and signed. All right, now we're going to make our decision about this area variance. I'm going to go through the 5-factor test as we always do. The first factor, whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties.
No.
No.
Yeah. Ron, you okay? No. All right. And would anybody like to add any comment around the why? Whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood?
It's such a secluded property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to impact any.
It's not a real busy road either.
So my note, secluded property, quiet road, well screened. In season. Number 2, whether benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance.
No, not on that property.
There's no other.
No.
So I'll put in no other reasonable location. Whether the requested variance is substantial.
I forgot how much that variance is for.
We're basically varying it on
On increment, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's our 150-foot setback. Do you remember what that
It's about
was?
64 feet. It's
64 feet,
land,
yeah.
So the 50 feet plus the 9 AC.
So to me, that's substantial. I don't think it makes a difference, but I would say that's a substantial.
Half the distance.
Yes, yeah.
Margaret?
What do you think?
Is it going to change?
I don't think we should consider that. I think we just need to answer the question, and then decide at the end.
So just point of information, according to the zoning enforcement officer at Dorado, an area variance of 69.3 feet inside the required setback, the required 150-foot setback.
So that was where your variance you're talking about, you're not going to be 69 feet, not 50. That
They're
was-
asking for 69 feet of variance
Yeah,
within their pool,
should be 150. Right?
correct? But it's actually outside the DEC's wetland buffer. Is that correct?
All except the bottom part of the house. 8 feet in either direction.
And the DEC went to check that.
Yeah, several phases of
Yeah.
it.
They didn't exhaust them.
Yeah, they did.
Exhausted.
They did cover all the bases.
Here's my opinion. It is a substantial variance. 70 feet out of 150 is a big number. However, 90% of it is outside of the DC setback, and the DEC has approved it. So, you okay with that commentary?
Yeah, it's good.
Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood?
No.
Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created?
Yeah,
You didn't do anything.
Yes, but the options are very limited.
Good, Tracy.
All right, team. Here's where it counts. The ZBA, after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds that the benefit to the applicant does not outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood, and therefore the variance request is denied. The benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood or community.
it does not, the benefit to the applicant by far outweighs the detriment to the community. I would think the motion be approved.
Is the motion seconded?
No, before we do that, just Ron and Sharon, you okay with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Are there any conditions that anyone would like to impose upon approval of the application?
Looking at the drawing, it seems like they have laid out their whole entire process. I don't know how we could add anything.
And the DEC is putting requirements that I think are reasonable and doable.
Okay,
They have to have fence around this. It's an in-ground pool,
Absolutely.
so you do have to have fence around it.
But not only that, this fence has to go under the ground to prevent animals from
Okay.
burrowing under.
And the top part of it has to be an extra
4 feet
mesh, I
high?
believe, right?
What's that?
There's an extra mesh on the bottom of it to keep turtles and or anything else from coming through.
Wow.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And it's gotta be at least 4 feet high.
Not for the turtles. just for the-
Yeah,
It's gotta climb.
I'm not actually sure the height requirement. I don't believe it's that. I mean, certainly, well, whatever Ed tells us.
Yeah, right.
I
I'll tell you.
okay, let's take a formal vote on approving this, starting with you.
Just to refresh everyone's recollection, it was referred to the county under 239. The county has- yep, so their next meeting is July 15th, I believe. So please keep that in mind.
So this approval would be contingent upon the feedback from the Columbia Planning Board.
That will go.
So then do we need to make them a new motion. I make the motion to accept contingent planning boards on the county planning.
So interesting thing about these references, by the way, just for your edification around referrals from the Columbia County Planning Board, when they come back and say, no problem, then there in fact is no issue. If they come back and say that upon recommendation of a modification or disapproval, so there are three things they can say. Go for it. We suggest you modify the variance, or we do not approve it.
It isn't anything as far as distance. You can't modify that really.
Well, it would depend upon what they came back and told us.
Right, they just say yes or no.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing about it. It's not necessarily binding.
It's gonna stop it,
It depends.
It's,
The board can override the Columbia County Planning Board's recommendation with a majority vote plus one. So if there are 5 people voting, 4 of us would have to say, we still approve it, and we can override the CCPB. But that stipulation is in there that you're required to have that supermajority in order to override their modification or disapproval.
so how are we sure that they're gonna do it this month though, on the 15th? How do we be sure that they get to it this month? I mean,
I've already gotten correspondence from them. Relatively on the, so if they do not respond, the 30-day period.
So Will, it's okay for you to make a motion that we accept the vote, or that we vote on this, and our findings our decision is contingent upon feedback from the CCPB.
Sorry, just for my own understanding, does that mean that if the CCTV comes back and says that they're not recommending against it or they're fine with the variance, does that mean that with this motion that our building permits would be approved, or would we have to come back and get a second?
No, it would be approved. Yeah, we are. The reason we're doing this is so that you don't have to wait until next month.
I appreciate it.
We're trying.
No, I know, that's why I just wanted to make sure that there's no code of district that would cause us to, we applied for this back in July 23,
Yeah.
so I'm just.
Wow.
We recognize that there is a lot to go through in this process, and
Well, DEC took a long time, there's a lot of it.
we're trying to make this as easy on the applicants as possible. Okay, so we've got the motion from Will, seconded from Ron. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So I need to go through this, and we're going to make a record of the vote. Aye or nay? Will?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. This variance is contingently approved. Okay, I think I've got this completely filled out, or just about. I'll actually finish the headings for you before I leave tonight, and then I'll give this to you.
It's also
Okay. All right.
do we have to close this public hearing, the one and reopen a different one? Or can we just?
We
Yeah,
we already closed
Yeah,
this.
close that.
Close this
Yeah,
one?
yeah, we got.
That way you made a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. we
Thank
did.
you, I didn't remember.
Yep. No, we did. All right. The next items on old business refer to the Block and Fischler approvals. So when we approved those at the last meeting, we did not make a formal motion to accept the vote. So we need to go back and do that. They were unanimous votes in favor of granting the variance. But I'd like to get a motion. Let's do them both at once, just to make this easier. That someone make a motion that we in fact approve the vote for acceptance of the variances for the Block and Fischler applications.
I'll make a motion.
Motion,
I'll second it.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. All right.
There's also notices of action.
Yep. Yeah, just so you guys know what Jay's talking about, the notice of action is just a document that I fill out and sign, and it formalizes the acceptance for the vote. I will not take everybody's time by doing that before the meeting. All right, new business.
What's the motion? Second.
Ron motioned
Motion, yeah.
and
Second.
Will seconded. Okay. Let's move on to the area variance for Old Young. Greeting, Mitch.
Just a point of information. The owner's name is Mo Young Shinsler, so her last name is Shinsler. And I know you're calling her Young, it's
Okay,
just, just so you know, Old is her mom, the last name of her mom.
You can stand on the X on the ground so people want to see.
Woody, there's an X on the X, okay, sorry.
yeah. This allows you to be seen when we're
Okay,
doing that.
yeah, mine joined us from overseas, but I guess not. So this is for an area variance, and I'll just point out, and you can do this with John Lyons. 617.5 of the regulation says, if it's a type 2 action, you don't review secret. Specifically says that, so you don't have to go through what you went through. That's what the law says, as long as it's one of those. And an area variance is number 17 on the list. So this is kind of a unusual request because she's not asking for a variance on anything that she's going to build. She's asking, for some reason, that the building inspector wanted an area variance for an existing building. So if you have the surveys in front of you, I'll point out it's all the way to the right, about the middle. You'll see a 16.7. Does everyone see that? 16.7?
Mhm.
Yes, 16 point. No. Yeah, no, 16. It is 16.7 right there.
Yeah.
Right there,
All right.
okay?
Mitch?
Yes, I'll show it to you. 16.7.
Okay,
So the setback is 50 feet from the middle of the road. This is only 16.7 feet, but this building has been there forever. That's where the mom lives. And we want kind of a retroactive area variance to allow that 16.7 kind of grandfathering it because we're not moving that house in order for the daughter to build her house on the lot next to it. So she's going for a subdivision. She's before the planning board for the subdivision, but there was the thought of having the area variance for the existing building. So that's the request.
Why is that not grandfathered in already?
I believe it should be. I was retained after the fact and rather than fight.
I thought,
Drove.
seems like I've sat down, sat in on these before that said they were grandfathered in, so.
you want it in writing.
That's what the building inspector wants, and you always do what the building inspector wants.
Jay, do you have any insight into why he is
Following conversations regarding the equivalent application in Ingram Opera House. Nan and John Lyons recommended that in an effort to make non-conforming in order to make lots conforming when other actions were being proposed that they were through the area variance process.
But that's when they were doing construction on them, right? So that's why we needed to get them conforming.
So if you would like clarification from the zoning enforcement officer, you could reach out to the zoning enforcement officer. There is a note in your packet.
So here's what's going through this kind of, so I will definitely reach out to Ed, but you'll recall when we went through that long process where for the first time, this board was asked to interpret the law around the mine. And one of the things that came out of that interpretation and working with John Lyons, you'll recall that there was a part of the zoning law, which we have to get rid of, that says the issuance of a special use permit turns a non-conforming use into a conforming use. You remember that conversation?
Mhm.
Do you also remember that John came back and said, that's ridiculous. If it's non-conforming, there's nothing you can do to make it conforming. So I'm puzzled as to why the variance application is needed, but he's obviously done it for a good reason, and I'll ask him. But I'll also go back and remind him that John Lyons told us that you can't through some kind of legislative or administrative action, turn a non-conforming use into a conforming.
Well, it won't, but if we give it a, I'm trying to figure out how we give it a variance when they're not doing any action there. So I don't know, help me out on that, I don't know.
Well, in all due respect, they took my client's money, the application fee. So you could have that conversation, and if you send me an email or a letter saying don't come back, you don't need it, I won't. But in the meantime, I'm requesting that you deem the application complete so we can proceed, because we don't want to delay it.
Absolutely. We will continue to move forward as if this is exactly what we should be doing. So
Your papers up on the
you're welcome. What you should all be doing now is just going through this packet and making sure that we believe that the application is in fact complete. And if we deem it complete, then the next step would be to schedule the public hearing. And in the meantime, I'll go talk to Ed and try to figure out why.
Thank you.
Got the referral, we got his letter. We have a very. Harold, did you teach English or math? I was looking at this earlier today with Jay, and I said to him, this is the most beautiful cursive I've ever seen on an application.
Wait till you see mine. You can't read it.
If anybody has any question around whether or not this application is complete before we vote on it, the variance application itself has a list of the documents that need to be attached. So you can just compare that to what you've got. Okay. Everybody had a chance to go through it?
Just to show while they're going through it. Were you a gym teacher by any chance?
Usually the question I get is, were you a state cop or in the military?
Well, your hair's a little longer.
My hair is this long only because my wife likes it that way. Not,
Well,
I would go
I
get,
that.
I would go get another haircut, but,
You act like one of my coaches. And I mean that in a good way.
well, I was a soccer coach and New York, Connecticut state referee for about 25 years. So
I'm still friendly with my high school basketball coach after all these years.
okay, can I get a, if everybody's had a chance to go through it, can I get a motion that we deem this application complete?
I'll make a motion.
Seconded,
Second.
seconded by Sharon, all in favor? Aye. Okay,
Make that information. Yeah. They're asking for an area variance. Why are we deeming the application complete and not saying that their area variance is accepted?
because once the application is deemed complete, the next step is we will schedule a public hearing. And then at the public hearing, we'll go through what we went through tonight for the previous applicant.
Hopefully without the secrets, since you don't have to. So when is your next meeting, if you don't mind? I just want to make sure.
30 days. We'll,
The 29th is the last Monday. I just want to make sure. It's the 22nd?
normally it's every 4 weeks, but we put
Okay.
this,
I, no problem. Okay, that's, you will do the public notices? Okay. Okay. Anything else you would like from me?
no, thank you. We will, soon we'll see you on the 22nd.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Go through a couple of things, because it is a subdivision, it does need to go back to the planning board.
Yep.
It also still needs to go to the county.
Yep.
I will work on basically getting it to the county. Hopefully that will be time for their July meeting.
Why does it have to go to the county? Not 500.
500 within, or from an area.
And this is? I haven't checked that. Okay. Thank you.
Most in ag from farm.
Mr. Bankroom is that?
Then the planning board declared their intent to be the agency.
Yep.
So
We are not.
They should be declaring it effective.
Yep.
So then just the motion for the public hearing on July 22nd. Or at 7:05 p.m.
Jay, is there any reason to think that the planning board will have any issue at all with this? The reason I'm asking the question is we're only 3 weeks away from that meeting. And, to the extent we can avoid having to do these approvals, well, I guess it doesn't matter because they're the lead agency. So,
Well, they're lead agency on the subdivision. They can't grant the variance.
no, of course they can't. No.
They don't have that authority.
So is that why he's asking for the variance, because of the subdivision?
I don't know.
Did,
I haven't come across it before. So
I'm not seeing, what's the amount of variance that they're looking for?
33.3 feet.
They don't have 50 feet in the center of the road. That's because they're dividing that house up. The splitting property.
Where are you getting that number from?
The 16.7, that's there, and it's supposed to be 50 feet,
So it's over the setback. I see what you're saying. So there's two places that are over a little bit.
just one place.
Two.
May I ask where's you're seeing the second? I don't know if that's 50. He just pointed out.
The setback is here and then that's showing that as. Maybe a little bit.
So how we would ask it, how you would grant it is the variance up to, you go to the shortest point, so it would be up to 33.3 feet. So at some places it would be less.
But we're only looking for 16.7 feet of variance, right?
No, 33.3 feet of variance, because that's 16.7 feet away. And it needs to be 50.
So the variance we're asking for is only 16.
No, it's 30. If you look at the first page of the application, it says a front area variance of 33.3 feet. So
The surveyor marked it, it's 16.7 feet, that's what that means.
Right.
It's supposed to be, I need 50.
Right.
Which means I need 33.3 feet. But that's the longest variance that I'm gonna need.
Guess I'm not following that because to me, it seems like you have 33 point,
I see what Will's saying.
you have 33.3 feet already. You're only asking for 16 more to meet the variance.
It's the opposite, we're only 16.7 feet away and we need to be 50 feet away.
Yeah, I guess I'm having a hard time with that sinking in.
So the surveyor is saying that this corner, which is the closest to the road,
Correct.
right, is only 16.7 feet away
From,
from the center of the road, which is where the setbacks
no,
are.
it's not. It's 16.7 from the setback.
No, this is
No,
the
it's-
boundary line.
This is the road, but he's only saying that number's from the setback.
There is no, so here's the boundary line of the property. That's what this is.
Right, but
So if you,
we're not pointing to that. We're pointing to the distance away from the setback.
so if you measure out 50 feet from this point, it would be somewhere around here.
Right where it says setback. It says setback there, and it says that this arrows are 16.7. That means, I mean, this house, I've been going by for 50 years. And it's more than 16 feet away from the road.
from the center of the road.
So this
From the
setback,
edge.
so this setback, it says existing leach field,
No, the setback is all the way over there though.
but this setback is referring to the leach field. That's what that note says here. That has nothing to do with his 16.7 feet there.
But it's all part of that lot. So I think there's an error here on this drawing.
I think what you're looking at setback is existing leach field.
But why are these arrows only going to that line then instead of the roadway? There's some confusion here to me on that drawing.
Looks like it too. You look at the barn,
What I don't understand is one.
talking about.
I don't even know why this road juts out like this. It doesn't do that.
Well, this is, here is Crest
Correct, Lane.
Lane.
Right.
This is the building, that's what this building is.
Correct.
So what he's saying, how I read a survey, and certainly how Sardo, because I spoke to him, who drafted this, is saying that there is only 16.7 feet from the corner of this building to the end, and it's supposed to be 50.
It's not the way this drawing is pointing out with these arrows.
With all due respect, that's what the surveyor told me. I hear what you're saying, but I have to go with the surveyor knowing what he did.
Okay, I'm just looking at the drawing and saying He's got it wrong.
No, because you're looking at the word setback and you're thinking that that's our setback that we're talking about. It's not. It's a leach
I'm only
field.
going by these arrows and where they're telling me, and it's not saying it's from the road to the corner of the building.
These arrows, this arrow says that from here to the end,
But this is the other corner of the arrow. This is the other distance.
well, I'll verify that with Mr. Sardo. I could give him a call.
That would be great. I think that Ed might be looking at this wrong. I'd like to really,
Okay, I will check with, I mean, it's certainly a valid question. It's certainly worthwhile for me to make a phone call. I will give him a call and we'll straighten that out.
I would like you to also ask him two things. One, why he didn't continue the road. I find it very confusing that the road is not there for us to literally look at the setback.
Yeah.
And two, he has a dotted line for the property line, and I don't understand that either.
So I think the reason, and I was not here.
Yeah.
The reason he did it this way is because he was asked to by the planning board. Is that correct? That's what my client told me, because I asked that question.
What are we stating?
That the fact that he put this here and this here, which was a large source of my confusion when I first looked at this. But I was told that that's what the planning board wanted. Rick told me that actually, and he said, I have no idea why they wanted that, but that's what they demanded.
Okay, so, first of all, that larger map is not the most recent map. We have not received large maps. There is a small map in the application packet that was provided because of a misunderstanding from what the
okay,
were
we're moving the goalposts.
I can talk you through some of this procedural history.
Oh, yeah, there's a better map.
Well,
Yes. Yes, it-
and I'd like to hear that, JL, for them. But the fact is, the road does go through on this survey.
Yeah,
It doesn't-
It does go through here on this small map. Just, I'm looking
Okay.
at this. However, this small map, it doesn't have these numbers that we always question.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. that's
So-
better.
To me, I understand.
Yeah.
It's a better picture than I.
I understand the
Yeah, that
planning
is.
board one, but I think maybe it would be easier for Will for us to understand if we had the complete road and
This is.
an arrow that said, here's the middle of the road, here's the place he's going.
I don't even understand the setback from the leach field, why it's halfway through the, I don't understand that.
Because it's the first subdivision. I mean, that's why. It wasn't, when the first application and the thought by the client was Rick's, he needed the subdivision. That would have been what he did for the subdivision.
Why don't you give him a call then, and then I'm sorry, I don't mean to take.
No, that's all right. This is-
Go ahead. You give him, you,
You
yeah, I
can-
don't want to keep you here any longer.
No, I
It seems like I need some
understand. You need to be clear.
clarification.
I get you. We'll talk to him and I'll see if I could get further clarification before the public hearing and send it to you.
And why don't you and I go visit Ed together, since I want to go talk to him about why a variance at all.
I'm thinking it's only because that property is being subdivided, so therefore you're changing that property in a sense. So I got a feeling that.
It's not, the setback isn't changing.
But no, you're changing the property because you're taking a piece off of it.
Okay, again, I'm not arguing that. I didn't call him about that. I didn't oppose that. My client submitted this application before I was retained. She said, go ahead and
And she
do
wanted to
it.
subdivide this instead of making an accessory use building. An accessory use.
Correct. Well, the
dwelling.
daughter wants her own parcel, right? The mom wants to give it to her daughter, so her daughter could live there. I know.
No, that's fine. I just, no.
Okay, so why don't,
And if I ask to go with you, does that make it a public meeting?
no, because you're an alternate and
Okay.
not a voting member.
Right, but only because I
Yeah.
heard.
Anything
Okay,
else?
I'll connect with you, not from my,
Motion to schedule it for.
yes. What do you want to make a motion to scheduling a public hearing for this application on July 22nd? Somebody make that motion?
I'll make a motion, we make a public hearing July 22nd. I think Jay said 7:05 PM.
Seconded by
Seconded.
Will. All in favor? Ron, aye.
Yes.
Sharon, aye.
Yeah.
Aye from me. Will,
Mike, I'm set.
Thank you.
Hearing's gonna be, that's on our next meeting. Huh?
okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
Good luck. Thanks. Bye.
That's not our next meeting. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, that'll be when our next meeting.
Oh, that's there.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason it's only 3 weeks away is we put this meeting off for a week.
No problem.
All right, last item on the agenda is our friend Christy D. Wilson.
So she's not here at the moment.
Okay,
So. Got to the planning board, they're now the lead agency.
Yep.
On this, and requested 3 things from me on the site plan. Yeah, in front of you, unfortunately, the site plan that you have does not include those 3 things. Which was the zoning map, grid of like setbacks and everything.
Yep.
And also the amount of, the percentage of square foot to acreage, which is, has to be 60% or less. And we're looking for about 4,000 square feet total in housing and garage. We've got 14,000 square feet in acreage, 3.3 acres, 0.33 acres. So we're well under the 60%.
Mhm.
As far as that goes. They also requested a letter from the HOA, which does not exist where we are. And they questioned, because when we had asked originally for a 3-bedroom house, as opposed to the 2-bedroom that we currently have, they came back with asking us for DOH and an engineer to look at the septic system to make sure it would handle another bedroom. Since that time, talking to 3 engineers, and also talking to the person who may be building our house, that we scaled down a bit our housing, and we've decided that we're just gonna go with a 2-bedroom as opposed to a full 3-bedroom. So that sort of eliminated that we had to get an engineer or somebody to come out to take a look to make sure the septic is working, is working as is. The 2 bedrooms. So basically asking to get you guys to do a public hearing on the application on variances. We have changed slightly, like I said. One of the reasons is the builder said that they can only come in with 10-foot wide modules, build a house, and we're 10, 20, and 30 feet wide or deep. So instead of going, we're 6 feet out towards the road, 7 feet out towards the road, only went 5 feet out towards the road. The other variance that we were asking for was to go back 8 feet from the garage towards the lake, and we're still gonna ask for that as well.
So that changed from your original. You originally wanted more deep towards the lake than that.
Towards the road.
I thought you wanted more towards the lake in your original. In your original request, I thought.
Original request was 8 foot. For the garage, to move back 8 feet. To extend it 8 feet. Which would still be a good 4 feet. Behind the existing foundation that we have on the porch. And the CDC didn't have any issues with that.
But it moved it how much closer to the water?
We moved it 8, we're extending it 8 feet closer towards the water.
But that garage is bigger now than it was before, right?
No, it will be, it's proposed to be 8 feet longer. and 4 foot closer toward, and extending it to the house as well.
Yeah, right, there was a.
That 4 feet as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's sort
right.
of within that footprint. But, you know, I think the variance was necessary there.
So, Mike, do you have one map for us that shows us what variances you're looking for?
It should be on there, that's completed. Um, and there's a second map behind that, I believe. Scott,
Yeah.
which shows existing and proposed, along with the differences in the setback to the house, to the road and to the lake.
Okay, so, sorry, I don't have an application or a map that I can look at that says these are the variances we're requesting. Do you have that?
That was the original, in the original application that we had. There was a cover letter.
Okay, so that,
With that asked for, originally 6 foot variance for the house going out to the road. We're cutting that back a foot.
okay. And is that application updated now?
I did not re-update that application.
Okay,
If necessary, I will.
yeah, because we'll need that in order for it to be considered a complete application, I mean,
I would like Mike to point out to me. Since your existing house.
Okay, this is the existing house, right? So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be moving it 4 feet
In this
out
direction.
in that direction. So that would make the house wider. We're adding the garage, we're bringing it, the garage
Right,
into the house. We're moving the house, trying to move the house out 5 feet.
so you're going to take this house down,
Yeah, it has to be taken down.
okay,
Well, it's gonna come down whether we do it or not.
yes, so if I understand this correctly, this line here is someplace here.
Yeah.
4 feet in further,
Right, so,
okay, I got that, now talk to me about the road here,
so it's a 25-foot long house, deep house.
right,
We're bringing it up to 30 feet
30
deep
feet, so you're going 5 feet more toward the road.
toward the road,
And
correct?
that's the variance here, one of the
One of the
variants,
variances, because right now we're 25 feet to the edge of the road,
right,
and here we'll be 20 feet to the edge of the road.
why? Why don't you go 30 feet back this way instead?
Because the lake is there.
Because the lake is here.
Okay. Can't do that.
It's really
wet, it's really wet on that side of the house.
We really prefer not to, because also we don't have a lot of property. I mean, we have a decent amount of property, but we don't use the front.
Yes,
So
right.
that sort of just makes sense for us.
And
That porch is existing.
that porch stays?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I get the picture.
Yeah,
now. Okay.
so right now, this is the existing footprint.
Yes, right. And
And
then
then
we
this
can
is the
move that,
proposed.
move that over.
Right.
Got it. Okay, so that's one variance. What's the other?
The other variance was taking the garage. Right now, it's about 38.4
Yeah.
inches away from
And
the
you
borderline.
need Bigger, but
And
not
by
over
8
the
foot.
porch.
Yeah,
It's
Okay,
not going past.
two
the-
variances only.
right.
Okay,
So construction's not technically going close. Well, yeah, it is. No, it's not. It's not going, the porch is in the same place.
That porch is staying, actually.
You're not going any closer than the porch.
Actually, the porch was rebuilt recently,
Yeah,
and we had to rebuild it so that it would be possible for the new builder to take down the old house and leave the porch standing.
they don't normally
that's
like
really
doing
nice.
that, but
That's really
they
good.
usually like starting from scratch.
I know, we did it bass backwards, I agree, but.
No, I don't think so. If you like the porch, you want a nice
The
porch.
problem with the porch is the porch itself was falling down, so we had to deal with that right
Yep.
away.
Now, when you were waiting for some feedback from EC on
We
the retainer, right?
Yeah, and when we sent them photos and everything, I sent them another email back, and they never got back to me on whether or not they had an issue with it or not.
Okay.
Again, I'll follow up again after the
Right.
fourth.
So in terms of moving forward with this application, you want an updated application.
yes.
If I give that to the applicant right now and it's filled out, could he would the ZBA be inclined to declare the application complete?
Yes. Yeah, Jay, I got a process question for you. I'm not sure, but we just had a discussion with the previous applicant and discussed the variance from the center of the road. We're now having a second discussion and we're talking about a variance to the edge of the road. Do you know why we would, which one we should be
Yeah,
doing?
if I may, when I had read the zoning,
Yep,
it said to the center of the road.
In the road, I would.
And then when I had spoken to Ed, he had mentioned, no, it's the edge of the road.
Huh.
So I figured I would do well, if it's gonna be that, then I'll take the
I was so, yeah.
closer.
well, you and I can catch up on that and try to figure that one out. How about that? It's, I'm kind of perplexed. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the tables.
That person's house is almost 50 feet from the center of the road. It's probably 35 feet from the edge of the road. Drive by it every single day.
Dr. All's house, the same?
I drive it
Yeah.
every day and I know it's at least 30 feet from the road. It's not 16.7, I can tell you that.
But they looked like there was mentioned the garage on that one part. But the horse barn.
Mike, you can sit down and relax. We'll get this to you so we can do it tonight.
So, both in the picture that you say here, 1-story wood frame dwelling, it's going to be 2 now,
It's gonna be 2 stories, correct?
and the garage is going to be 2 stories as well.
Correct. At this point, we may downsize that, so we're just making it an attic with a dormer. And with 2 dormers in the garage. We're still working on what my wife likes the look of and what I like the look of are separate, but
She would.
she's gonna win. Yeah, I understand that. I'm just.
All based on these.
Well, they actually better for you, those two stories.
Can he amend his existing application? If that is suffice.
Yes, let's do that.
And that's the.
really need that. The difference here. Right. Or would I need to amend that? I'm sorry, I'm brand new at all of this.
This one right here.
Okay,
5 feet
well,
and 8 feet.
actually, yeah, that was correct originally, I guess.
Okay, so those are the 2 variances
Yeah.
that you're looking for.
Yeah.
The 5 feet is on the side, right?
Is on the front. With front yard.
Front yard variance and a rear yard variance. And no variance on the side.
No, because we're moving out 4 feet into our.
And
There's no,
you're not moving the garage any closer to the other property line.
No.
Than it is now.
and we're just moving the garage to the house. We're just attaching the garage to the house, so.
Okay, so I get the front yard variance. What's the rear yard? 8 feet? Where is that?
That's from the garage.
Yep,
So it's moving from here to here, the 8 foot
oh, towards the lake.
towards the lake, correct? And we're still
But just inside the porch.
the porch, footprint.
Bear with me a second.
Of course.
How close are you to the lake?
As it is right now, on the second one, I made it a little bit
I tried to make it a little bit clearer on
It says here
on this one.
28.
So the existing is about 38 4 inches.
All right,
Approximately.
Yard area is very.
okay. All right.
Yeah, I did this because this is confusing to me. Visually.
What I'm just thinking about here, Mike.
Sure.
Front yard area variance of 5 feet, got that.
Right.
Rear yard area variance of 8 feet, I got that.
Right.
Applicant will also need an area variance from the 150-foot setback from the lake. So what the zoning enforcement officer is saying,
Okay, yeah,
and there's actually 3 setbacks.
yeah, I guess now, I didn't realize that was had to be a setback. It's already non-conforming, the house.
Yeah,
In and of itself is. In fact, the entire lot is non-conforming because 150 feet is over in Adams, field.
right. And we also need an area variance from. Okay, I think we can do this complete.
Okay,
And I just want to, I'll put that on my mental note to ask Ed about the third one.
thank you.
How do you advise them that they're 50 feet?
Well, you can't.
If they're non-conforming lot.
You can't.
Impossible.
That's impossible. But nobody over there, front, side, back, they're all non-conforming lots. So,
There's been a lot going on over there. Everyone's.
so let's, can I get a motion that we deem the applicant's, the application complete?
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you. So you can't get the public hearing on the 22nd?
22nd.
Do we need to make the motion for that?
Thank you very much.
We do what?
Motion that we add this variance to the public hearing on July 22nd, 7:05, or do I need a different time? 7:15? Whatever time Jay says.
7:15. 7:15. Okay, got
So meeting.
seconded.
7, so
Aye.
let's be here at 7.
You know, you
Second,
get
wait.
traffic lights.
But hold on. Let's be formal about this. So the second was from Ron.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
So what's this about 7:15? We needed 7.
well, yeah, but we're not going to get to him until 7:15.
Oh.
So,
Thanks a lot.
good night. Thank you.
Anything else?
No?
Yeah, I'd like to just mention one thing. I thought, looking through this.
Sorry, what is that?
With the index, all draft and planning
No.
and checklist you gave one. I thought the more interesting thing was this flow chart. How that worked. And I'll be interesting to see how that, to follow that more. The flow charts were more interesting to me than all of the forms
Yeah.
and everything.
And when I was going over them with Sharon a while back, I feel that those flow charts need a little editing.
Yeah, we had to change a couple things around because it was actually more geared toward the planning board than it was toward the ZBA.
I think
Some of the things were not correct.
I'm trying to get some time. I either have to draw it and I can't work on it on my computer, so I may draw it.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
Okay, one more thing.
Motion.
And I'm not being picky about it, but
It's
we're
okay.
gonna try to upgrade. We're gonna try to upgrade in how we're doing things. A few weeks back, somebody, the builder, called the town hall, and my wife is still listed as the
Yes.
as the clerk, and I'm like saying that was like 3 years ago, so we ought to start there. We ought to start at the basics and move forward. I mean, we ought to straighten that out,
I tried to change it multiple times, most recently. The end of May, I spent probably between 15 and 30 minutes trying to change it. I can speak with Monica, but I am not able to.
That's crazy, huh? I just thought if we're gonna try to, we're worried about our forms, we're worried about this, worried about that, and the answer machine is wrong. So I mean, it seems like the basics we gotta go with.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
I make a motion to adjourn.
seconded. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay,
And next one.
thank you, we're done.